Well, first things first, you can't see it, but I'm proud to announce that I have a new watch bench. Well, a new old watch bench. There was an estate sale, another watchmaker one town down, and I went there and I bought some stuff, including this watch bench. I've been using sort of an ad hoc one. I want to talk about one of the greatest watches. This is the 6105 8000X. There was the 8000 and there was the 8009. 8000 was world. 9 was North America. Besides, that clock always rings early. It's normally not 4 minutes early. It's normally like 3 minutes early. Anyway, people know these as sort of the, they call them, or I call it the Slim 6105, as opposed to the standard 6105, standard, the Willard, quote unquote. Whoops. There's another Willard. That came with a set of service hands. That's the service hand set that it came with. I thought it looked great, so I left it. So these are the ones, these Willards are the ones that everybody justifiably wants to try to pick up. They're fantastic watches. They're just beautiful. With this big cushion case, really excellent ergonomics. See the undercut on the sides, so it doesn't bite into your wrist. Just this beautiful semi-liquid asymmetric design. They really are beautiful, beautiful watches. Nothing else, nothing looked like them then. Nothing still looks like them today. Even Seiko doesn't make anything that really truly looks like this. They should have never stopped making these. They should be making them today, and they should look just like that, just upgraded. So everybody, of course, wants these. They want those two. But this one, the Slims are really, they're actually, I think that they're just eminently wearable. I think they're a very close, darn near perfect watch. The dials are the same between the two models. 6105 81X, the tops of the markers, if you look very carefully, are frosted. And that's so that makes it so they're visible at all times. Now with the earlier ones, the tops of the markers are high polish. It's the earlier type. It's interesting to me though, this watch went through a Seiko service center at some point. It got what I believe is, it's all original. I believe that was a service style. It definitely had service hands and a service sweep. That's the sweep that was on it. All the loom is original. I had to replace the loom in there because it was just gone. But there's just sort of an elegant simplicity to this watch. You know, and compared to anything else that came at the time, it's just so magnificently legible. It's such a clean, strong design. Thankfully, you know, there are modern reproductions, not made by Seiko, of these today where people can get them and, you know, get this thing and, you know, it's affordable and they can wear them. They're just, it's a 40 millimeter, it's a 40 millimeter watch. It's nowhere near as heavy as this one, especially if you don't have it on a bracelet. I have mine on a cloth strap. Sorry, I keep getting reflections there. Just the simplicity of the design. The dial is uncluttered. With the curves of the case, the gentle sideways curve, it's just so legible and such a pleasure to wear. You know, talking about legibility, let's compare it to something else that was, you know, not quite designed at that same time, a little bit later. I mean, you got this, 1987 Rolex, 000. I mean, it's legible and everything. It's just more, I don't know. This watch looks more toolish to me. It's also, again, it's much, much simpler. Seiko's design team did such a really, really nice job because there's a lot of watches that look like Rolexes. It's been imitated a lot. No one that I'm aware of has ever come close to independently creating some watch model that was anywhere near as clean and perfect a design as these 6105s. They, of course, ran these 6105s until they discontinued them in, oh man, 76, 77. I don't think I've seen one later than 78. And so they pushed these to one side, and that is when they came up with the 6309s. That's 1977. It's July 77. And there you see it's got the 77 tan loom. Now you see how these are white? That tan loom, that was only in 77 and a little bit into 78. It was also in 76. I'm personally convinced that the reason for that was that. So this is a 6309. It's from 1977. And this was the successor piece. Whoops. Come on, get out of there. And you'll notice that it has a color mismatch between the dial and the hands. The pip and the hands are white, and the dial is sort of a tannish butter yellow. That is what I call the 77 tan. These watches were made with this specific tan-white combo, starting when these were beginning to be produced in 76, and it was kept through 77, sometimes in the beginning of 78, every now and then. My personal theory is that this tan was printed like this in the factory. My theory for this is the same time that the 6159 grandfather tunas were being made, and every single one of those has this same pattern with the tan dial loom and the white hand loom. My assumption for why the 6306s and 6309s got it is because they were being produced on the same line as the 6159. I don't know that for sure, but I think it's real likely. But not all of these are going to have that tan loom. You're not going to see that all the time. Where did that other watch go? Hang on. So you got this as a 77 with that tan loom. This one is an 87. No, I'm sorry, this one was made in June 1986. This was an original one-owner watch. This is actually the original owner of that watch. This is on the day he was given that watch. He's actually wearing it right there. Imagine this guy wore this through his career in the Navy, and then he wore it in a welding shop. You can actually see, look at that. It's got a little piece of metal blorb stuck there. I'm going to leave it there. Can you believe this watch is unrestored? And he wore this thing for decades and decades. But again, look at that amazing legibility. It's one of the hallmarks that Seiko really worked towards, and they did a great job of it. And then, of course, the next, SKX007. Well, actually, it's not the next. I lied. Just talking about these legible black and white dials. Seiko's 7549 7010 300-meter tuna. Though this one does not have the normal quartz movement, I put an automatic in this. That's a watch. That's a watch. I mean, when you're serious about a watch, that's a watch. It's the best. It's just magnificent. The only other tuna I like as much is the golden. And there's the golden. Isn't that a beautiful watch too? Same exact case as the 6159 grandfather tuna. The only difference is the titanium nitride plating and the shroud not having the 6159 flare that comes down here. But beyond that, same thing. Everything swaps across. Because the 6309, the 6000 series, this was based on the 9000, I'm sorry, somebody's message just came through. This was based on the 6000 series. So like a 6309 and this thing will swap back and forth all day long. I guess let's put that there. It's just beautiful watches. But in terms of legibility, wearability, size, readability, and unusual ability, you don't see people with these on too often. But these are the ones. Not that I would ever turn my nose up at any one of these, but it's been so long since I've had a slim case diver with all original lume and everything else like that. It's super cool. I just wanted to kind of show it off. This one, somebody did a big polish on it. Not a big polish, but they made it all shiny. Normally, I only go for unrestored, watches with their original case backs, warts and all. Oh, I need to clean that. But as we can see, Seiko's commitment to usability and legibility is right there. No funky stuff. In any case, I just thought I'd show off some of the mainline divers. That's about it. Okay, well, I decided to make a change. I just cannot. I couldn't cope with the non-standard service hands. I really wanted to, but I just couldn't. Because this is the thing. I'm pretty much always a firm believer in using the stock hands. I can certainly take non-stock hands. How am I going to do this? Always with the light problems. You never figure it out like that. I think that's better. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. Stock hands. But I've always felt that the stock hands on the Willard, even though they're pretty much to scale, they're perfect on this slim case. On the Willard, I always felt that they were a little, I don't know, they were a little too skinny. They kind of got lost in the case. It's kind of like the only thing I can legitimately complain about with the 6105. I do have another 6105 that came with a service handset. And I personally believe that this was the original intention for what 6105 Mark II was going to be. I mean, just in my mind, the shapes all work together. The larger handset moves in and fits with all the other geometric shapes in the dial. I just think it's the one that was meant for it. So when I look at this one though, and there's no, those hands have to be there. Those hour and minute hands have to be there. Now, that sweep being a service sweep, I'm completely 100% okay with that, because I have to sort of admit here, I actually am not really a fan of the stoplight sweep. It just, something about it, it's okay, it's a little too complicated. I don't quite get it, and sort of the size of it is a little too small. I'm not really criticizing, I do love it, but here, again, that 6309 hand, that stuff is just perfection. For me, that works really, really well. Oh, great watch, huh? And that's the original lume. It was super, super dark and all messed up, all nasty and gnarly. But there's the original. I'm very proud to have been able to take this back. This hour and minute hand were mostly original. I had them on a junk not a junk, but a badly beaten dress mas, or dressy mas, as I call them. They're there's a range of dress watches from the 60s with at least 4 different movements, all of whom had this handset, the 62 MAS handset. The only thing is sometimes the loom is that sort of diny green. This was an original handset, but the loom in the minute hand had been smashed out, so I did a quick color match. But so 50% of the loom there is original. The rest is all original. Oh, except for the pip. I'd reloom the pip. I don't know, the 6105 slim case, it's just, don't ever get me wrong, man, I love these. I love these so much. But actually, for me, in terms of like elegance and wearability and balance, sheer readability, it's just this watch, for me, you can't beat it. And this one's really cool too. It's the best of both worlds because it's such a late resist. It's got the hacking B movement, which is just, that was my only real complaint about the slim cases, is I really like to have that hacking ability. I'm pretty happy with it. I think that's a pretty nice watch. I think that's pretty cool. You know, there's a reason why people love these watches now, the reissues and the other ones being made by different companies. It's a beautiful design. Just beautiful. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much.